This Valentine's Day, celebrate the one you love the most with Hallmark cards at Walgreens. Valentine's Day is the best time to send your favorite person a reminder of just how much they mean to you. A Hallmark card is a super simple and beautiful way to say how grateful you are for the love you two share. Don't forget, Valentine's Day is Saturday, February 14th. Visit Walgreens today to find a Hallmark card that shows just how much you love them. Because love lives here.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome everybody to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by the hockeythinktank.com, a website for all players, parents, and coaches to go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. What an episode we have for you guys here today. We are bringing on Dr. Cassidy Preston to talk some sports psychology. He is a performance mindset coach right outside the Toronto, Ontario area. This is the second time that he's been on our podcast. First time in a couple of years, and the first one was unreal, and we are so excited to have him back. He just finished a book called Mindset First, and we talk a lot about mindset on this episode. But before we get over to Dr. Cassidy, let's bring on another doctor, maybe in a different way. One Jeffrey J. Hulavecchio, the talent. How we doing today, brother?
Doctor of meat. That's right, baby. What up? I'm gonna start calling
Doctor of Love.
I'm gonna start calling myself the Doctor of Meat now. It's like, okay, thank you for giving me that nickname. Now I can tell people I didn't give it to myself. Perfect. Go. I'm doing great, man. Hey, something I was gonna bring up on the podcast here. I'm excited. I just remembered it. Next week, all right. We had Eric Fair on the podcast recently. Former Stanley Cup champion. Not a big deal. He owns Lactigo, and I talked to the company yesterday, and they were kind enough to tell me that they are going to do some kind of giveaway for our podcast listeners.
Ooh.
So I gave them some ideas, but I think next week they're going to have it nailed down to what I'm allowed to do. But I think we're going to be able to come up with some kind of competition here on the show where, maybe there's a keyword or something hidden in the next episode, not this one, the next one. And a whole team will get free Lactigo bottles. So I was like, oh yeah, dude, we would love to do that. Let's go. So pretty excited about that. So make sure you listen to this episode and next week's episode and every episode after that.
I was going to say, and the one after that and the one after that.
And every episode after that until you die.
That's cool. That was a great episode with Eric Fair. Not every day you get to talk to a Stanley Cup champion. So really, really cool podcast episode that was.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. Other than that, nothing new going on for the kid.
All right. I do want to say thank you before we get to some other thank yous. I want to say thank you to all of the people that have reached out over the past week or so. So last week we did a podcast on the youth organization blueprint and how to run an efficient youth organization and what we are doing with the Hockey Think Tank to help organizations level up and streamline things and really educate and provide some perspective. And wow, thank you to everybody that has reached out. We know how much of a positive impact this is going to make on the youth hockey world. That's our mission. That's our goal. And it's very cool to see how well received it was after people heard about it on the podcast. And we're looking forward to working with so many youth organizations, and it's going to be so much fun. So much fun. Cool. So thank you to everybody who listened last week. Thank you to everybody who reached out, and we're looking forward to working with a lot of people coming up in the future.
Boom. Making things happen.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Love it.
Man, it's mindset, man. It's mindset.
Yeah,
mindset first.
Day, baby.
Here we go. This was an awesome episode. This one is going to get shared a lot. There are going to be a lot of particularly coaches and a lot of, I think, a ton of parents that are going to listen to this and be like to their kids, you have to listen to this episode. Talk about mindset, talk about just finding ways to be better mentally with your, dude, there were so many times on this one where we were looking at each other and wow,
like so many. You guys can't see us unless you're watching our YouTube. We're on YouTube now, guys, in case you forgot. This is on the tube. But yeah, guys, I mean, there's a lot of nuggets in here you guys are going to love. And listen up, mom, dad, coaches, players. All right, guys, like, the sooner you learn about sports psychology and mindset and all these different types of things that will help you in your hockey career, but have nothing to do with like practicing hockey or playing hockey. You're just working on your brain and your self-talk and things like that. I guarantee you will instantly get better. Okay. Like, I don't care if you're already the best player or you're the worst player in the team. When you learn about this stuff and you start to consistently do it, you will become a more consistent person, not only hockey player, just person, the way that you show up. This stuff is not woo-woo stuff. This is real life. And it's something that almost all elite hockey players now focus on in many different ways, shapes, and forms. So let's dial in, turn up the volume, and listen to this one, because the doc is awesome. And his last episode is one of my favorite podcasts we've ever done also. So I was really happy we got him back on.
Pump up the volume, pump up the volume, pump up the volume. All right, let's get over to Dr. Cassidy Preston. But first, we have some people to thank. Want to thank Gel Sticks, our title sponsor. Go to gelsticks.com, GELSTX.com. Unbelievable weighted training sticks to help you with your shot. Use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, and you will get a discount on those weighted training sticks. If you're not a hockey player and you're a golfer, or you're a lacrosse player, they got stuff like that too. Holidays are right around the corner, guys. Save a little bit of money. Great product. Gelsticks.com. Coupon code ThinkTank, one word. Boom. Go.
Boom. Want to thank Train Heroic. Train Heroic is where I house all my online training. It gives me the ability to work with so many teams based off of your team's specific schedule in season. Very easy for me to do. Want to thank Train Heroic. That's also where I keep all of my off-season training programs. This is where we really dig in and get a lot better during the off season as athletes physically. So I want to thank Train Heroic for making all of that happen. If you're a team who wants to work with me in season, out of season, or speak to your team, reach out to me or go to my website, gmbm.com. And, my little face will pop up in your face right there and it'll say, "Hey, I'm Vex. What do you want?" It doesn't say that, but pretend it does. And then you can just send me a message there and I'll reach out to you. Also want to thank Cured Nutrition. Cured Nutrition's CBD coat. Stop laughing, bro. Come on, do my thing. Wanted to say thank you to Cured Nutrition.
Oh, like you don't do this when I'm doing my intro. Yeah,
I never try to mess you up. Cured Nutrition keeps my game tight, keeps my brain on the straight and narrow, and Topher's trying to make me laugh. They just had the biggest sale of the year. If you're looking to get anything from them or you have any questions, please reach out and ask me, guys. Like, I've obviously studied the brain quite a bit, having 14 concussions and whiplash and all these things that I have to deal with every day. CBD is something that helps me perform better and also recover from my intense workouts and intensely long work days. So curenutrition.com, use discount code GMBM or reach out to me and ask what's up, and I'll help you any way I can, guys.
There we go. Thank you to Helios Hockey. Unbelievable product and service that they provide to all youth hockey players or hockey players at the highest levels as well. And what this is you get a chip that you put into your shoulder pads. It's a sensor. And right after it gets going, you get instant feedback, instant data on what you've been doing. So they have something called a hustle score, a really, really cool thing, particularly for youth hockey players. It helps you to break down your stride, your length, your stride mechanics, because it pairs with whatever video that you are using, whether it's LiveMar, whether it's an iPad, one of those old, handheld camcorders that our mom and dads used to use back in the day. And so
I know what your dad was using them for.
So helioshockey.com, unbelievable discount that we have for you guys. If you go there and use the coupon code ThinkTank, it will give all new Helios members 20% off their initial 12-month membership, and you will get that sensor to put in your shoulder pad for free. The kicker with this, what Jeff and I have been salivating over ever since they became a part of our podcast here is it links up with your video. Boom, instantly after the game, you get your shifts breaking down. No fast forwarding, no rewinding, things that we used to have to do back in the day. It's got it right there for you after the game. So go to helioshockey.com, and thank you to icehockeysystems.com. Literally, for me, the best website out there for anything you're looking for coaching education wise. There's thousands of drills out there that you can steal from, whiteboard explanations on systems and habits and things like that from really, really high level hockey people. And the ability to draw up your drills, send them out to your players, send them to your parents, send them to other coaches within your organization. It's just such a great value add. We've teamed up with them for an associations platform where you can get this for every single coach within your organization. Not just every coach, though, every parent too, because they have access to the Hockey Think Tank Parent Survival Guide. And so go to icehockeysystems.com today. Again, what an unbelievable gift. If you're a hockey director, unbelievable gift to give your coaches at the end of the day for Christmas time this year. Like, unbelievable gift that makes any coach's life so significantly easier. And so I've used it a ton in a lot of different ways, and I encourage everybody to go out and do that. So icehockeysystems.com, and thank you to all of our listeners. We love you guys. We're 10 episodes away from 300, Vex. 10 episodes away from 300. Wow. Incredible. And we continue to grind this out every week because of all of the feedback that we get from you guys. We so appreciate it. Continue to keep reaching out to us via email, via Instagram, via Twitter, via ratings and reviews on our podcast platforms, whether that's Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast today. And it just helps us a lot to spread the word. It helps us a lot to get the positivity we're trying to spread throughout the hockey world. Keep that going. And so I think, honestly, like, this is one of those episodes that's going to get shared a lot. This is one of those episodes that is going to provide so much value to so many different people out there, whether you're a hockey player or whether it's just life in general, honestly. And so this was such a phenomenal one. Can't wait to bring it to you. So without further ado, here we go with Dr. Cassidy Preston. It may be too early to start decorating for the holidays, but it's never too early to start your holiday shopping. Why not take care of it now before the crowds and packed calendars make shopping a total nightmare? Especially when you can get some of the best deals of the season well before Black Friday. You can shop Raycon products right now and save up to 50% off because their early Black Friday sale is going on now. Raycon first made a name for themselves in the audio space with products like their everyday earbuds, known for delivering high quality and thoughtful features like a 32-hour battery life and a perfect in-ear fit for all day wear and lasting comfort. And this past year, they expanded their entire business with the introduction of Raycon Home and Raycon Power Tech. Their 5-star reviewed Magic 180 cable allows you to charge iOS, micro USB, and Type-C devices 8 times faster with 100-watt power delivery. Raycon is known for delivering high quality and thoughtful features at half the price of other premium tech brands. It's no wonder their products have racked up tens of thousands of 5-star reviews. To get everyone in on the holiday shopping spirit a bit early, Raycon is currently offering 20% off everything on their site with select products up to 50% off. So beat the crowds and save now. Trust me, you do not want to miss out on Raycon's early Black Friday sale. Hurry now to buyraycon.com/THPN to get 20 to 50% off site-wide. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to score up to 50% off Raycon products. BUYRAYCON.com/THPN. We are so excited to have in this episode of the podcast right outside the Toronto area up in beautiful Ontario. We got Dr. Cassidy Preston. Cassidy, how you doing today, man?
I'm great. I'm excited to be back on. It's been a hot minute.
It's been a hot minute, and by hot minute, it's been almost 3 years. So maybe a little more than a hot minute, but we're so excited to have you back on. We got such great feedback the last time we had you on the podcast, and now you're coming on because you just wrote a book.
Yeah.
How was that process, man? Like, I've tried to write kind of like book stuff many times and have failed miserably at it. Just like, what was the process like for you in writing it? It had to be crazy.
Yeah. So I've wanted to do a book for a while, right? I've got like my dissertation, my master's, and those kind of are kind of like books, but they're very academic books. They're not very easy to read. But this was like about a year in the process. I was like, okay, I'm going to do a micro book. I want to do a small practical book, just do something, see where it goes. So it's been about a year. And then I really worked on it the first half of 2023 here. And then it was a long editing process. So, and then cutting it down and how to make it so that the best things hit first and summarize things and then what stories use and not use. So it was a long process. And then one of the funniest parts was actually doing the audio recording and trying to read my own writing. So like, I was like, I kept screwing up. That was like a torturous week, but it's launching here this coming week. So it was a fun process.
Well, we're going to get into the book here in just a little bit, and you work with so many different hockey players in the sports psychology field, just helping them level up with their mental performance and their mental game and stuff. But before we get into that, I just want to kind of reintroduce you to the listeners. It has been a hot minute since you've been on here, so if you can, tell us a little bit about growing up in Ontario and how you fell in love with this great game.
Yeah, so I grew up in North Bay, Ontario, just north here of Toronto, where I played on frozen lakes and outdoor rinks a lot. And it was my dream to play in the NHL, right? Just like a lot of young hockey players, a lot of Canadians, but even Americans now, and the game's growing. And when I got drafted, played in the OHL, and going to my NHL draft season, I'm getting closer to that dream. And I have all these goals and I'm ambitious. I'm going to the NHL. And then I fell flat on my face and it didn't go well. I had all the weight of the results, all the expectations, all the confidence problems. I was able to overcome that and move through it. And I had a pretty up and down journey and a lot of other wins, but and I made lots of great friends. But that's what really got me interested in the mental game was my own struggles and challenges. And then that's what I went to school for. And I've now got to build the business that I have and have all these coaches working with all kinds of athletes, but obviously a lot of hockey players with my own background and connections as well. So, and then that's what led to the book because of bringing all those strategies and concepts and the things we teach every day into a nice condensed practical book. So, but yeah, it was playing in North Bay, Ontario, a little small town. That's where it all started for me.
Well, let me ask you this before we dive into the book, because I think this is really relevant actually to kind of like what you're doing. I've done a lot of very, let's call it rookie research on mental performance, and not even just mental performance, but mental health and well-being and stuff. And one of the things that keeps popping up is how important our past is into determining how we feel and how we think about the present and how we think about the future. And that obviously can be a great thing, but that can also be a real struggle for people that have had some tough experiences in the past. You know, you mentioned that you are doing what you're doing because of your own personal experience of falling flat on your face, using your words. I don't want to say that, but that's those are your words. You know, Vex is doing what he's doing and is so passionate about what he's doing because, you know, growing up, it was when strength and conditioning got introduced to him that he started to just elevate everything about him, from his hockey performance to his mental health
to his modeling career
to his modeling career and all that kind of stuff. And for me, what I'm doing, a lot of it has to do with my past, the good and the bad, and what I've seen in trying to help players and teams and organizations really kind of level up and things like that. So just to kind of start, like, how do you talk to players about using their past or understanding their past to understand where they're at in the future, or understand where they are in the present and how they can use it to either change things if they need to change things, or use some of the positives from the past to help them level up in the present?
Yeah, no, I love that question because, you know, the things that happen to us don't define us, right? That's the past. And what matters is, what do we do with it? And how do we narrate the story and own who we are and write the next page? And one of the ways I look at it too, like from a player standpoint, is, you know, as they're going through the journey, there's going to be bumps along the way and successes. And we want them to stay even keel. And a lot of players, they get elated by their success or deflated by their failures. And the reality is, when we fail and when we face tough times, that's actually the greatest source of grit. Like in my life, that year I fell flat on my face, just to bring it back, I had 0 points in my NHL draft year as a forward. Like I got healthy scratched, you know, didn't get played 48 times. I had to sit in the stands, watch everyone else go out and play while I was just healthy in the stands. So, and the worst part actually was going back to my hometown. I'm the only guy playing in the OHL at the time from my small town. So I'm kind of a big deal, not really, but kind of in a small town. And someone has the nerve to come up to me and go like, hey, if I played 30 some games in the OHL, I would have got at least 1 point. I was like, oh, just a sucker punch. Like at that age, like, so, but dealing with it, embracing it, coming out of it, like everything else in my life has been so much easier relative to that. And again, there's a lot of worse things that happen in life than having no points as a 17-year-old playing hockey. But like at that time, it felt real hard, and being able to deal with that and overcome that has served me. And so that that's where grit comes from, right? Grit comes from doing tough stuff and embracing things and growing from it. And likewise, I see this all the time, like athletes that succeed. Well, if they're not careful, that can be actually a drawback because they're not learning to develop grit. They're not learning to develop resilience. They're not learning to stay humble or grounded or centered. And so you're going to get both along the way. What matters is seeing both so that you can stay more even keel. And, I'll probably get into it more later, but this whole narrative stuff I really like because it's, the stories we're telling about ourselves really matters. And a lot of times people play the victim or they get elated and they're not taking control and ownership of the narrative. And the facts are the facts, but the narrative really matters to our journey and our development. And so you bring up a great point. And and to the point of like my values, well, they come from my voids, right? Like just same with Vex, same with you. Like what we value and what we want comes from what we feel is missing, right? And wasn't there for us. And so that drives us to fill that void. So, and I got that from John DeMartini. It's great. A lot of good stuff is integrated in my book. So
that is a great quote. Values come from void. Yeah. From the voids. Like I love that. I got emotional giving a speech to working with Total Package Hockey this year. It's like an academy here in St. Louis. And I did a Zoom call for all the parents. And I think like 99% of the parents were on the call, and there's like 65 kids in the school. And I was telling them my why for why I do things, why I'm intense and things like that. And I started talking literally about that, like deep down, I am the way I am and want to help so many people because in the end, I didn't have the career that I, wanted, so, but I could easily, and then it brings me to using the word like narratives and the stories we tell ourselves. I easily could sit in my room and cry about, like what happened, but like, no, I tell myself a different story, a different thing. And that allows me to go forward and then do what I do now and be successful at something else through like the stories that I tell myself. I like that you said that, because that's something that when I'm helping people, get through, it's usually like a slump or a confidence issue. Depending on like what we're talking about, I'll say things like, I don't care what you need to say to yourself. Like, I don't care. Like, figure out something that puts a little bit of good pressure that gets you moving in the right direction. I don't care what you have to say to yourself. Let's just get you moving in the right direction. I don't even know if that's a topic we can even talk about, but like, I like that you said that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And a good example, like, I don't know, we might probably get into it. There's a whole confidence part of the book, but think of like action is one of the best things that like builds momentum, builds your mindset, builds confidence. Is, are you doing something? Like, what are you going to do about your current situation? And it's easier to take action and move forward when you've owned your current situation, when you've owned the past, and you've created a narrative that serves you. And so you think like past, present, and future. The past are the facts, and how you narrate them matters. Right? Is things going, what direction are they going? It's like, oh, look, everything's going terribly. It's like, well, that narrative is going to be hard to deal with versus, hey, things aren't tough, but like I can grow from this, and it's building up, and there's this climax coming. That's, the hero's journey, so to speak. And then there's the present, which is, are you the hero? Are you someone that makes something out of this? Are you someone that owns their story? Or are you a victim? And how do you see yourself right now? And then there's the future and how you write the next page, and what direction are you going? What are you going to do about it? Which is the action piece that you speak of. So it's a huge piece.
So for the listeners that cannot see us, actually you can see us. Go to YouTube. We're about 10 minutes into the conversation right now. And like you'd see as Cassie was talking, Vex and I have this like scrunchy face, like, yeah, like nodding, like, F yeah, man. I love it, dude. Cause we talk about this a lot, like ownership. I tell you what, I look at so many if not all of the elite people or players that I've been around, that is one of the defining characteristics of them is ownership. They own what they do. They don't just own their mistakes. They're not afraid to pat themselves on the back either. Right. Like they own everything that they do. It's and like I heard Gary V. Vex, we've talked about this a little bit. Gary V. I've heard say, like, imagine what would happen if you took accountability for everything that happened in your life, the good and the bad. And you thought that everything was in your control, because at the end of the day, it is, because it's not what happens to you that matters. It's how you choose to react to the things that happen to you. And I love how you kind of tied together action with ownership, because that to me, it's like that's the dynamic duo right there. If you want to be successful from a performance standpoint, but also even from like a mental health standpoint, if you want to get out of a rut, like you got to take action. You got to do something. You can't just sit and stew. You got to take action, as hard as that can be at times. And as somebody who has had a lot of anxiety in the past and has been depressed, like action is the thing. And so like, yeah, man, I love how you said that. And so for the listeners here, go to YouTube and look at Jeff and I's face when he was talking. We were like, ugh, yeah. But kind of like transitioning into this, Cassidy, like you wrote this book that I'm sure talks a lot about what we're talking about right now. But I'm interested in like what you called the book and the name of it. And it's called Mindset First. And mindset, I feel like, is this like almost kind of name wooey foo-foo kind of like thing that like everybody thinks they know but is trying to figure out, like what is mindset to you, and why did you like call the book Mindset First?
Yeah, it's a great question because it is fairly vague, and it goes even to your point around like, think about just working with an athlete. It's like in some ways it can be very simple, just take some action. And some ways it's very like intricate and complicated, which is the whole mindset piece. And some times you can get lost in this predicament of like, well, let's just talk ourselves to death and not take any action. Well, and obviously the flip is also problematic when it's like, well, just be more confident, go out there, do it. It's like, that's kind of oversimplifying. Sometimes if someone has these inner doubts and inner narratives and doesn't help them tease it out, so then they can go take the effective action. And so one of the ways to then break down why we call it mindset first, it's like the fundamental thing for me. And if you think about like, what is mindset in and of itself, there's all kinds of simple definitions, but it's the mental state, how you're showing up in a certain moment. It's who do you want to be and your why, which we've already even touched on that. And who do you want to be and how do you want to feel? How do you want to think and operate? It starts there. And the funny thing, you use this be, do, have model as a simple way to explain it from John DeMartini as well. It's like, who do you want to be? What do you want to do? And then what do you want to achieve or what do you want to have? And most people, and the mistake that is almost over underlined for any mental game challenges that people face, is because people start with the have, the results first. They're focused on, well, what do I want to achieve? I want to get more points. I want to get to the next level. I want to have this. I want to achieve this. And this is society in general, right? Like outcomes, results, external comparisons. And so they're driven purely or mostly by this. That's their priority. And then they focus on, what am I going to do in order to achieve this? And the last thing they consider and think about is, who do I want to be? And how do I want to show up so that I can do these things well and achieve this goal? But as long as the priority is the results, the mental state suffers. This is not going to be as strong as it can be. But if we flip it and we learn to prioritize, who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? What is my mental game? Why am I playing in the first place? And we get clarity on that and certainty. Well, that's where true confidence comes from. That's where the love of the game is originating, that we can stay connected to. And when you're connected to this, what happens? Well, now the actions are going to flow and the results are more likely to happen. The probability goes way up. And most importantly, you enjoy the journey. But it's this idea of being mindset first, not just to help you achieve the results. Because yeah, when you have a great mindset, it does lead to better results. But that's one of the funny paradox and problems. It's like, yeah, I want to focus on my mindset so I get better results. Well, then you're still prioritizing the results. And there's the weight, the variability, the emotional roller coaster, the stress and the frustration attached to results. Results has all this baggage that can come with it. And so it doesn't mean not to have goals and intents that are external. We all have them. That's perfectly fine. But can we detach from it? Can we learn to prioritize who do we want to be? And so everything else flows from there. When we talk about confidence and overthinking, reset routine, dealing with any other mental game thing, it goes a lot better when we're first prioritize who do we want to be. So that's why it's called mindset first.
That is so awesome. That is what an unbelievable explanation too, by the way. Clap there. Unreal. Wish we had sound effects. Sometimes we have sound effects. Steph sometimes hits a goal horn, but I guess we don't have claps yet. We're not that. Thank you, Steph.
I didn't score my first season the all, but
we'll give you 2 since you only got scratched 46 times. All right, Steph, enough. But I love that you talked about that, because this is something that I find is everywhere in society, but also in hockey, especially right now, is people just focusing on the results. When you focus on the results, you're not always going to get them. And that's exactly what the doc is talking about here. That's where you go on these emotional roller coasters, because if the result isn't there and it's not going to be there all the time, you're going to be up, you're going to be down, whatever, right? But when you reverse engineer, who do I want to be? Why do I want to do this? Then you create actionable items. Like he said, take action, like do things, move forward in your journey, right? Then you can more judge yourself on the day-to-day. Am I doing the things necessary to get to where I want to be, right? So is that something you talk about, like reverse engineering? I mean, it is what you were talking about there. When you're working with clients and things like that, do you set up, you reverse engineer, where do I want to be? Why do I want to do this? Reverse engineer. And then do you create like daily habits, daily rituals that you have players completing so that they're staying on track?
Yeah. So we could definitely reverse engineer it, where we start with the results and then we get clarity on who they want to be and then learn to prioritize that. What I often do is, even early on, even before someone might start, is like show them this, because most people get it once they see it. Like, oh, damn, like I gotta prioritize, start focusing on this. Like, I got a player, they're coming in, they're just so consumed with the results, or they're so consumed with just, I got to do this more, I got to walk the line better, I got to show up and play this way. They're so focused on the external process, what they're doing, the results, and I'm like, no, like it starts here. And they're like, oh, damn. Like, so, and then what I'll actually do, and what I don't do a lot of, is focus too much on the results. Because usually, especially when someone's coming in to start, it's not that we never do goal setting and focus on that, but it's like they're naturally doing that anyways. I don't need to, like, I'll quick, like, what's your goals? Oh yeah. Okay. I get it. Like I know where you want to go. Let's just talk about this. I'm trying to be the guy in their ear that's constantly saying, how do you want to show up? Who do you want to be? What are your priorities? What are the things most within your control? Not just the doing in your control, although that really matters in those habits, but really on the mental state, because it's often not so tangible. And so they need to define it, create a narrative, create the routines, and there's other things in that help with that. So that's kind of the approach that we'll take. And then the strategies and habits, to your point, are things like a reset routine, things like a personal scorecard, or things like an alter ego, which is a narrative identity exercise from Todd Herman, who helped Kobe come up with the Black Mamba, which is pretty badass. And so like those different, right? So those different exercises, or using imagery and attention setting, that all further highlight the who do I want to be, how do I want to show up, as the priority in that mindset first. So yeah, no, great question.
Is there an age that you'll start, that you think people should start working on this stuff? Is there anything where it's like 6, probably too young, 8, maybe 9, 10? Because like for me, mental imagery, positive self-talk, like me just dabbling a little bit into psychology, sports psychology, like, just all these different things, like it's changed my life, like 100%. Self-talk, writing things down over and over and over, my goals, my intentions, like just reading them all the time. Like I have no doubt in my mind that it has helped me be far more successful than I would have been if I didn't do all these things very consistently. So is there an age that you think is a good age people should start that stuff at?
Yeah, I always say the sooner the better. Now, 6 is probably pretty. I have a 5-year-old. I'm pretty sure she's pretty smart. I don't think she's anywhere. But as a parent, you're like, what? Trying to teach them a growth mindset, try to model a growth mindset. Like it's so much easier said than done. Oh,
Like would that be something where you regress it, where maybe it's like you teach them not to say I can't?
Yeah.
Like that's a psychology thing
Well,
right
dude,
there.
we would even, and I've told you
Yeah.
this, Vex, like we have a special phrase with our kids. Like with Paige, we started at like
Yeah.
3 years old. I
Yeah.
am strong. I am kind. I'm an includer. I love myself. Like, and every night before bed, boom, special phrase. What's the special
Yeah.
phrase? And
Cool.
just kind of, so that was, I mean, we started I mean, we don't have to do like visualization
Right.
at that age, but like,
Right.
I think you could be doing some of that stuff just to,
Yeah.
make it a part of the routine and making sure that they're feeling good about themselves a little bit.
Yeah. So, yeah, at all ages it matters. I actually did this with my 5-year-old. I did a partial visualization around, because trying to teach the growth mindset. I'm like, hey, you got to do hard things to learn. And I'm like, you want more pathways in your brain? She's like, yeah, I do. I was like, well, you got to open up more doors. And the way to open up more doors is to do hard things. So we're creating a visualization about what's going on in her brain so that she was willing to embrace and do hard things.
Dude, hold on a sec. Can you say
And
that again?
open
Because that
another
was
door?
legit.
Yeah.
That was really legit.
Yeah. So it's like a visualization. It's like, imagine your brain, you want all these pathways. You want to know more things. You want to create, which is actually what's going on in your brain, right? It's the synapses that are connecting. You're building neural pathways. Well, I was like, hey, there's these pathways, there's these bridges between one idea and the next. That's how you know things. I was like, well, there's a little door. You got to open up these doors to create the pathway and strengthen it and build the bridge. And I was like, but you got to do hard things. You got to push to open the door. If you're not going to do hard things, you're not going to get a lot of pathways. She's like, oh no, I want a lot of pathways. So like, yeah, well, do hard things. Like, let's go read that book or whatever we're trying to do. Right. So I'm doing the math problems and stuff. And so, so as an example, you're as parents, particularly there is no too young to start, the power of yet, learning the mindset, doing a visualization thing like that, teaching things, modeling behaviors. In terms of like getting into the more like, all right, let's sit down and create some practical strategies for a high performance setting. Like 8 years old, we've have athletes come and work with us at 8. When younger athletes, 12 and younger, come in, most of the conversation is actually with the parent. So one of our coaches, like they'll spend most of the time talking to the parent, so the language is there, because sometimes the parent's saying things unintentionally, making things worse. to be fair. And so
can you give an example of that? I think this is really relevant for the people who are listening to our podcast. Like, what are some potential things when you're coaching the parents that maybe like unintentional, not doing any good, but maybe they think they're doing good? And what are some recurring things that you talk to them about?
So one of the big ones is the car ride home. So the car ride home is a huge thing where the parent
we don't ever talk about that.
No, it's never.
We never talk about the car ride home on this podcast.
Weird. Weird. That's important. So there's and one of the ones that I like to really stress is like, the parents should talk last and the least, if at all. So, and depending in all ages. And the parents are like, well, I asked my kid how he played and they're like, I don't know. Or they just say good. And I'm like, well, that's not acceptable. Now, if they're recreational and they don't then who cares? But if they're trying to be a high performer and they want to develop and you're going to put time and energy and they want to grow, then reflection to me isn't optional. Like that's not an option, because when you self-reflect, you become more self-aware and you can get better at self-correcting. And so if they're not self-reflecting and they're like, well, I don't know. And then you're self-reflecting for them, you're robbing them of like what we talked about at the beginning, to take ownership and to become more self-aware. How are you supposed to become more self-aware if you're just being told what to think and feel and what you did and you got to work on? No, here's what I did well today, which is really important, to own their capabilities and build momentum. And here's what I can work on. And here's how I showed up at these things that matter and important. And so as a parent, they, giving their kid the opportunity to do that at all ages, but once eventually they're older, then it doesn't matter as much because they're don't reflecting with the parent. Although I see it at like 19 years old and stuff still happens. But that's a huge one. So it's like helping the conversation, trying to let go of some of the judgments is another big one too. Oh, that was so good. That was so bad. This is so good. Like everything's just so, black and white and good and bad and judgment, versus like, all right, maybe that wasn't the best play, or that worked out, didn't work out, or I liked that, didn't like it. So it stays in a more even keel learning environment versus this judgmental, oh, that was so bad. one of the worst ones is like judging effort. Oh, it's such a bad effort. Like you're not trying hard. It's like, you got to be careful, especially as as athletes get older, particularly when you judge somebody for their effort is and how you judge it, it can become very toxic and problematic, because especially if they're high performing, they see themselves and they're trying to work hard, but maybe they're in their own head, or maybe they don't know what to do. And maybe, they could push themselves harder, but then you start labeling you're lazy, you don't work, like that can create all kinds of problems. So I could probably spend a whole hour just talking about how parents can not say the wrong things to the kids. But
let me ask you this question, because this is something I wholeheartedly believe in, but I'm open to other opinions, but I think this is like really important to talk about. So I do a lot of parent information sessions, and I actually was on one with an advisor group last night with Chad McDonald and his group of players. And one of the things I talk to parents about is like, I literally get into heated conversations with, let's call them old school coaches, and people who say that the kids of today are soft and the kids of today are not mentally tough, right? Like you hear so many people talking about quote unquote the kids of today, and it's always in like that negative connotation. In my opinion, again, this is my opinion, this is not fact. In my opinion, kids today are not soft. They're not mentally tough. That's a cop out. What I think is they're afraid of failure, and they're afraid of making mistakes, because the environment that we've created as adults has led to so much professionalization of the sport at such a youngest of ages that it's like a monumental thing if they make a mistake. It's like they're getting yelled at by 8 different freaking people if something small goes wrong, and they're being they're not having, like, they don't just go play hockey anymore. They're always being coached, and they're always being judged, and they're like, and so like I think that's such a false statement. I think kids today have the capability to be mentally tough, and they have the capability to be hard, but they're afraid to fail, right? They're afraid to fail. And that's why they don't put all of their effort into something. That's why they don't put their best foot forward, because they're afraid of what might happen if they do that. That fear of judgment, probably from adults, And so like, it's not the kids that are the problem. Like kids can be mentally tough, and kids can be hard. They're not soft. They are mentally tough. We've just put them in a box, and we've labeled them as that because we do a shitty job of adults as letting them be kids. Does that resonate? Like, does that make sense?
Oh, it's right on the head. And that's why, like, we see it so much with some of the younger athletes coming to my company. The environment is going to dictate and have a huge impact on the mental state. And so 2 things within that, like input dictates output. So like the input is judgment, criticism, don't screw up, be perfect. The input is social media, external comparisons. Well, what's the output? You're in your own head. There's fear, worry, tension, lack of composure, lack of resilience and grit. And the effort is scattered. The noise in your mind, it's hard to give a consistent, great effort, shift in, shift out if there's noise in your head and tension and fear. So you're right on the money there. And a good way to also, an important like line around the language we use matters. In some ways, could some athletes have more grit? Were they more gritty 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Sure, if we had to make that comparison. But I would be very cautious to ever label anybody mentally weak, soft. Because as soon as you do that, and as soon as they self-identify as that, like that's all kinds of problems. Nobody is mentally weak or not. We all get down, frustrated, have emotions. What matters is, are we building mental strength? What matters, are we learning to cultivate grit? Can we learn to be hard at the right times and in the right moments? And we're all born that way. We're all born resilient. We cry until we're fed, or like, until we get what we want. Like people are naturally tenacious and have grit and resilience within them, but it gets suppressed, and the input and the fears and the judgments create people to play small. And so the environment is a big factor to the mental state of an athlete. And so, and that's why, like, we see this all the time. And like in chapter 8 in the book, I talk about parents, but also toxic cultures, because I got an athlete and we give them all the great mindset and mental skills, but they're just in a real toxic environment. It is tough, right? And we talk about like athletes, which and it still exists. There's still lots of this old school, mentality of like, oh, they're soft and they just got to toughen up and, be hard on them all the time. And, and when that exists, like I talk to athletes about putting on a hazmat suit. Like you're walking in to like a toxic environment. It's like you're going into Chernobyl. Like this is the way, coaches or teammates might be speaking to them. Again, I think it's getting better than it was maybe 10 years ago. I think things are going the right direction, but there's still some environments that exist that way. And let alone at 10, like, and 12 in those ages,
it's like more. It's more in the younger ages. I feel
actually,
like now the older ages have kind of started to care more about psychology and sports psychology, and now it's all the kids getting shit on left and right by these coaches who say all these things, and to the coaches who are more of that mindset of that militaristic, and you think that is discipline. You can have discipline without being a dick. I mean, for more, excuse my French, but like you can hold people accountable. I do it every single day. Hold people accountable, care about discipline, care about, teaching them resiliency and all these things, but without like that, like it's me versus you type of mentality, that old school thinking. Yeah.
Well, can we talk about how to build those environments really quick? Because I totally agree. Like I've seen what many people would call a kid as really soft become hard because of the environment they've been put in. And I've also seen it go the other way where you have a mentally tough kid that gets put in one of those toxic environments. And then all of a sudden they hate hockey and they hate themselves so it goes kind of both ways. So, and that's why I'm so passionate about this stuff, because it's not like a dual thing. It's not either I'm mentally tough or I'm not. It's on a spectrum, and that spectrum can change every day for a kid. Well, and it could go from 10 to 0 based on one freaking thing that the coach says to you.
I think that's super important, and why we got the doc on the podcast too is because what we really need to be doing as coaches and parents and strength coaches and docs is teaching them the tools that they can be using to pull themselves out of these funks, out of this, instead of, peaks, valleys, high, low, the tools that you can be proactively living with every day to put yourself in a good mental state, to put yourself in a spot to earn your confidence every day. Because I tell all the players, confidence cannot be given to you by anyone. It can only be earned by yourself. No amount of money can buy you confidence. Doesn't matter. No amount of things can give you confidence. Only you can earn your confidence. So for me, it's like Toph asked the question, like, what are these types of environments got to be like? I have to assume that one thing has to be like teaching them different ways to live proactively as a tool versus reactive when things go wrong.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to talk about that variability and the earning confidence, but to the environment piece, quickly, just around, especially with the failure piece, and it's very difficult. It's not like, oh, well, here's the perfect environment. That's some fantasy. That makes sense. Like it's a constant ability to adapt, be aware, guide people, develop their skills, see where people are at. It's this healthy balance of support and challenge. Sometimes somebody does need more challenge to grow and push, but the type of challenge matters. And a lot of times people misunderstand that. They think, oh, this person needs challenge and accountability. Well, now I got to be mean. Like what? Like, no, you can be encouraging and challenging at the same time, and be honest, but encouraging and caring. And so there's a great book, Radical Candor. I think it's Amy Scott. I think it was I forget the author's name right now.
Probably
but
good last name. Sounds about right.
Yeah, Scott's I think the last name. So yeah, Kim Scott. Yeah, I think. Anyways, so and it's just a great book of like having both, being radically having this candor, but also be very caring at the same time. And that environment is what matters. And it takes a lot of energy as a coach. Like you got to show up and care, come prepared, ask questions, engage, listen, and guide, not be judging and criticizing failure, helping people learn and grow, whether it's skills, effort, mindset, making mental mistakes, like that's part of it. Like one of the things is a very common mistake. Someone starts working on the mental skills we'll talk about, but they start working on it and then they make a mental mistake. And then they beat themselves up for making a mental mistake. I'm like, no, like you're not going to have like this perfect mental game. Like nobody's inherently perfect. Like there's bumps along the way, but if you learn from those, then your mental game can get pretty strong. And it seems like they have a perfect mental game, but everyone's got emotions and thoughts and distractions. It's just getting really good at managing them and being aware of them and learning from when things dip or you get distracted. So that'd be my quick point on the environmental side. And maybe to jump to Vex to your point around earning confidence and the idea of the variability in results and this individual highs and lows, which goes into one of the fundamental things around confidence, right? And, I think we talked before just about like chapter 2, this like never have a confidence problem kind of chapter, which is like such a big thing. Everyone just ties their confidence to the external things, right? The highs and the lows. So one of the first ways to like stop having confidence problems, I say, is to stop using the word. To me, the word's tainted. It's so associated with external points and external things. And like you're doing a great job, Bex. Like no one can give it to you. Like you got to go and earn it. So when I talk about confidence, I say confidence, what it really is about is owning your capabilities. Well, what do you earn? You have to earn capabilities by putting in work. So if we shift the narrative and the language to it's not about confidence, it's about capabilities. And are you owning them? Now, sometimes athletes don't own the work they do. Well, now it's a lot easier problem to solve, right? Like, I'm not owning my capabilities. Well, do you have capabilities? If you put in the work, okay, then own it. Like the answer seems a lot more obvious. But when it's confidence-based, I'm not feeling confident. Oh, okay, well, where do I like? It's like, is this vague thing that's a lot less tangible, and that's generally for most people associated with external things. Well, I have confidence when I get praise. I have confidence when I put up points. I have confidence when things are going my way. So screw the word confidence. Like it's tainted. So that's the first thing. And to stop having confidence problems and to be more, like you said, mental skills consistent, be even keel, regardless of the environment, although environment matters, like we've really highlighted. But then the other way to look at it and breaking down confidence is be very careful the stories you tell ourselves, like back to one of the first things we talked about, which is I am, right? So I have a confidence problem. As soon as someone identifies that, which is a lot of players, I struggle with confidence. I'm someone who just struggles with confidence. My confidence comes up and down. Like, so one, you're using the word confidence, but two, you're identifying with it, right? And some people identify, I always beat myself up. I struggle to own my capabilities. Says who? You're telling yourself that, right? And when you tell yourself that, now you have a perpetuating problem. So one, it's hard to work on because we can use the word confidence, but now you're telling yourself something that now, you're trying to break through. Okay, yeah, no, I do feel confidence. But then as soon as something doesn't go your way, yeah, but I struggle with confidence. Oh, here we go again. Like you've created this net fall that's just going to create a cascading, ever-saying problem. It's like who says you have a confidence problem? Stop saying you have one.
Dude,
like,
I love what you said there. Says who?
Yeah.
Probably nobody except what's in between your ears and that person telling that story. I love that. That would be, if I had a gym, Vex, that would be one going on my wall.
What would it be?
Says who?
Says who? Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like that from like all different angles.
Says who?
Oh, you're the best. Says who? Oh, you're not. Oh, you're not good enough. Says who?
The NFL season is going strong, and DraftKings Sportsbook is hooking new customers up with an offer that's even stronger. Bet $5 on any game this week to score $200 instantly in bonus bets. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of a sweetener offer every game day this October. Get in on the game day greatness. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets when you bet $5 on the NFL. That's code THPN only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. Please play responsibly.
I like that. I like that for multiple things. And Doc, I love what you're talking about too. And something I tell guys to focus on, because I obviously trust you. And that's how it was for me. I'm sure it's how it was for Toph. Anytime we were down on the C word, I don't want to say it. I don't want to get people slapped.
Yeah.
All right. Down on the C word. It's because I was thinking about, the results. Oh, I didn't get the points. I was a minus tonight. I was this, and so something that I have players focus on is I tell them, I say, think about when you are your most successful. Like, think about when everybody goes through those periods where you have a bunch of games in a row where it feels like you can only do things right. You're getting a bunch of points probably, but it doesn't have to be points. Think about that. And okay, they think about that. All right. Now in those games, I want you to boil it down to 4 to 5 things that you were doing extremely well. And I'm not talking about points or the result. Like, what were you doing that got you the results in those games? Break them down into tangible things that you physically were doing in the game. And I'll give you guys mine. Like, for me, I had 5 things. I made a list of 5 things I had to do. And I focused on these relentlessly every day. And I stopped. Obviously, I wanted to score every game, but like, if I didn't score, and I judge myself on these things. Did I do these well tonight? And if I didn't, I knew right away I had something that I could work on tomorrow in video and in practice, pick apart. Okay, let's make this better because I did the other 4 things right. And when I did all of those things well, the results were always there, whether it was goals or just playing well and over a long enough timeline, because I know that those things make me my best and I play my best. If I just relentlessly focus on these things, the results will be there by the end of the year. So for me, my things, just because it's a hockey podcast, I want people to hear, mine were number 1, always move your feet, because I was terrible if I didn't use my speed. I might as well not have been on the ice. Always move your feet. Second one, shoot everything. I was a shooter. That was more of a mindset thing, because when I was down and not playing well, it's because I would try to get too cute, try to make one extra move. So for me, it's like more of like a simplistic mindset that made me a better player. Stick pressure body all over the ice, because I was really good with my stick and I needed to be good with my stick. And especially in Europe, you don't have to hit guys like super, super hard like I did in the US. So like, get your stick on the puck, try and make a play, whatever. Go to the net, stop and stay there. Be a meat, go to the net. And my 5th one usually had to do with leadership or communication with my teammates. The 5th one would change year to year. Sometimes one of those 4 might change, but for the people out there, like, I do calls with people and I help them with just this part, like not all of the psychology. Like, I just want to get them started back in the right direction. And we go over like these things. And then, okay, now for the next 2 weeks, I don't want you to focus on any results. I want you to focus on these, being your best. They always call me the next day they scored the next game after not scoring for 10 games, right? And so everything the doc is saying here, guys, like, I physically used this type of stuff in my career and it helped me so much. I don't know if Toph did. Like, Toph, were you using things like this?
Yeah, I had my ABCs. We read this book, Hockey Tough, back in the day, and this was 15, 20 years ago. By, was it Saul Miller, I think, Cassidy?
Yeah.
And he talks about your ABCs, again, like, very simple. What are 3 things that you can do that are in your control? And mine, it was very similar to yours. It was move your feet. Same thing, move your feet, compete, and killer mindset. Like, just go out and like win every battle, And so like, yeah, man, I think just boiling it down to a couple things that you can control. It's amazing when you focus on the things that you can control, how often the things you can't control end up working out for you,
right?
And then the other way around, if you're focusing on things you can't control, then the things you can control start to give you anxiety and stuff like that.
You focus on the things you control. Now you become way more consistent. And so the results are never going to be a direct, like 1 point every game all year. No, it's like 2 point, 1 point, 0 points, 3 points, 2, 1. Like, there's always variability, but how you play can be consistent. That's what we're going for. And then the results will be a little more consistent. I'll give a great, insight. I would encourage you to use this or add it or reflect on it with athletes that do this. Because what you're doing is, like, I call it like a personal scorecard. This is your definition of success. This is who you want to be and what you want to do, and not the external scoreboard, right? We want to be mindful. I tell players, stop looking at stats. Every day they look at stats. I was a player obsessed. Look at my stats. Like, your input dictates your output. So what you input, oh, this is what matters. Results matter. Results matter. Worrying about scoring. Then you're thinking about scoring and points and results during the game. Not going to help. It's going to be a distraction. It's going to be weigh on you. So it doesn't mean never to look, but like you just don't look too often.
It doesn't mean never look.
But pretty much, yeah. But don't look. But look once a year. so depends on the person. I got some guys. I'm like, no, you're not looking the rest of the year. Like you're done. Like you're just don't look. Like block it on your phone right now, etc. But then what I would do, Vex, like with yours, 5 things, and you're probably doing it. You can kind of naturally do it anyways, but to be intentional, and this is what we do with a player. And Toph, you had one in yours, but I would tie in some of the B. So who do you want to be when you're moving your feet? Right? How does it feel? Right? Now you're like, because it's not just what you're doing, but it's how you're doing it. Right? Oh, I feel like the Tasmanian devil, or I'm a dog on a bone. Like now we're evoking a mental state. You're going to move your feet even better. Right? And so that's because be and do can be so interwoven and overlapping. Think of like, shoot everything. Like you said, it's a mentality. That could be a bit of your killer instinct. It's this like attack, relentless attack. Like, these different things, you tie in some mental states to it, are very impactful. And so it varies. We do this with players all the time, whether it's 2, 3, 1, what's their definition of success, their personal scorecard. And then they reflect on that after every practice and every game. And we even get them to, because often these things are somewhat subjective. And we can break them down into 2 categories. And I do this often, where one's, their mental state, and they break it down like on a percentage. Well, what percentage were you in that, Tasmanian devil or dog on a bone, move my feet mentality, forward check, back check, moving my feet today? Like I was at 80, 70, 90, like, because now this is where you are. Where do you want to get to? And we want to be, and I encourage people to go 95% plus, because, I was perfect today. Now we're getting the perfection traps again and judgment. No, I did my best, 95 plus. And that's the target. And that's the standard. If you're not there, well, what's the mental block? Why aren't you moving your feet? Why aren't you like tapped into it? There's something that's not clear yet, or you're distracted. And so, or it's just a habit you're working on or building. But we start obsessing about these things. Oh, that goes so well for players, like to your point. And a good way to then tie this into, and it ties back into the confidence, is that alter ego. I alluded to it earlier when we were talking about Todd Herman, like the Black Mamba, mentality helped the Kobe create. And when you think of like your 5 things, these are like different traits of a character, right? There's like, it's the identity and the narrative you want to bring to the field of play. Now, not every player might use this or buy into it, but it can be very powerful to create stories. And like we've talked about, stories are so powerful. That's why like dog on a bone could be more, might evoke the feeling and the mental state you want more than just move my feet. But, and again, both matter, but like, and sometimes you move your feet first. But the point being, the alter ego exercise is creating a identity and like getting connected to that. This is who I choose to be, right? Like versus, oh, I am somebody that beats myself up. No, I'm the top dog mentality. I want to show up this way, or killer instinct, or and that's what Black Mamba was all about. Which is, in a quick funny aside, if you're like me and you're like thought Black Mamba was just a cool name, it's a venomous snake. I mean, you guys probably both knew that, right? So yeah, I'm not very smart. So so joking a little bit. And
says the guy with the PhD
and books out.
but I don't know everything clearly. So like a lot I'm still learning here. And I was like, but what's cool about the story is like the snake is one of the fastest snakes, obviously good for basketball. Snake can kill its prey from a long distance, 3-pointers in basketball. And then the third thing, unique trait is that its kiss, or its bite, was considered the kiss of death. Talk about that killer instinct mentality. And he talked about unleashing the Black Mamba onto the court. It was like, good luck to his opponents as he unleashed it. And so very powerful narrative and identity that he would tap into. And so
something easy to see in your brain and like connect to, which is everything. And I've talked about on this podcast before, and Toph and I have talked about it too. Like this is something that I had never heard of when I was playing. And especially when I was younger and I went from being a skill guy to being like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not a skill guy anymore. Now I need to hit people. And I've never even checked anyone in my life before. Like this. And I think I'm generally like a pretty nice person. Like I don't, manners and stuff like that were beat into me as a kid. And like, I'm not a violent person, by nature or anything like that. But like going from, that type of kid and then skill guy to like juniors where it's like, oh God, you're on the fourth line. You better try to hit somebody. I could have really used this alter ego practice. It really, I know it really would have helped me personally a lot. It's something that I wish I would have dove into. Is that something that you talk about in the book or not this one?
Oh yeah. No, yeah. All my top ones are in there, and it's right in that chapter too. Because it's one of the foundational things, whether you come up with a really cool name and use it fully, but just going through the exercise is like, it helps create the personal scorecard. It helps you clarify how do you want to show up? It's amazing how many players haven't thought of that. Who do I want to be? How do I want to feel? How do I want to show up? Versus I want to work hard. Like, it's a vague, like general answer. Like, yeah, like be specific. Like when I have the puck in the scoring area, how do I want to feel? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up in that specific moment? And that becomes a trait in those. So they go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, our buddy, if I'm getting the puck in the slot, how do I want to feel? I want to feel like this guy, because he just thought it was going in every time, and it pretty much was.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting. Like this is really resonating with me because it's something I struggle with in like the business and real life of the world. Like I miss the competitive shit that I was when I played hockey. Like I miss getting really pissed off. I miss the heat of the physical battle. And I know that I can take some of those strengths that I had in the arena and use that in my life now in working with youth teams and youth organizations, but I haven't quite found like the avenue to do it. I haven't found my nest. Yeah, I haven't found my nest, let's call it, in kind of what I'm doing now. And I desperately want to have that killer instinct, that killer mentality. But with what I'm doing, it doesn't seem like it's analogous in certain ways. Because we're talking about some of these confidence things, lifting people up, creating positive environments and stuff like that. Where in hockey, when I was a hockey player, it was like kill or be killed. Like that's my puck. That ain't your puck. Like that's my space. That ain't your space. Like I'm going to outcompete you until I die type stuff. So let me ask you this, as somebody like, I'm like in your, on your couch in your room right now, looking up at you, how can I, and this is what a lot of like professional athletes deal with once they get out of hockey, is they have to find a way to channel, their inner competitiveness and find another way to use it. Like, how would you instruct me? How would you give me perspective on how I can use what I think is one of my huge strengths when I was a player, that competitiveness, now in this different arena where I can't just go bash somebody's head in, or I can't just go check them or fight for that loose puck against them?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And a first fundamental way of looking at identity, it's not like we have one identity. It's like, oh, well, I just show up in every area of my life like this. It's like, how you show up.
Well, that's where kind of like the alter ego comes in, right?
Yeah, right.
Talking about. Yeah.
So, and then
how do you create that? Like what are some strategies that you can use to like take some of the things from who you are kind of like away from the arena, but also like, here's some things I need to add to be a killer, in business or whatever it is, as a teacher, whatever.
Yeah. The answer is to go read the book, but
yes, there you go.
Yes. Well done.
Mindset first out this week. Let's go.
I'm done. No, so a way to play with it, but first on a fundamental way, and Todd Herman again, wrote the book called The Alter Ego Effect, is a great book as well, dives into it in all kinds of intricacies, but I dive into it. It's a big part of chapter 2, but first understanding like, again, the stories we tell ourselves, like I am this, right? So, and so we have definitely natural strengths and tendencies, and which ones do you want to tap into in different moments, right? In different areas of your life and a narrative. And so, because again, how we show up as a parent or how we show up in the working environment versus, with our friends or when we're on the rink or when we're playing or when we're coaching, or there's all kinds of different identities we can have, right? And so being aware of that first and foremost is important versus like, no, I'm just one person in every area of my life. It's like, no, we get to choose and create how we show up in different areas. Now, when someone goes through a transition and someone's going into a new role, then it can be really mindful to create that. And so in your example, and kind of coach you through this in a way, is okay, well, we know how do you want to show up and how do you not want to show up in those moments. And creating that contrast is actually a very fundamental piece of it. And it's like, okay, so when like I'll give a couple examples, like, when someone keeps making a mistake, right? Like, well, I don't want to start screaming and yelling and demeaning them, like as an example. And I do want to encourage them and challenge them and find like, okay, well, what do they need a little more support? I'm going to be mindful and intentional and supportive, yet challenging and trying to help them grow here. And so I put that hat on. And when people maybe aren't going hard, well, how do I approach that? Well, I don't want to just like, freak out and be like, oh, and judge them. But I do want to, bring up my competitive fire to like, hey, how can I find the buttons that push them here? How can I better understand them or coach them or guide them? And so you're creating this narrative and these different moments of impact and then be really clear on that. And so, to bring, back to the original point of the question too, is like, well, how do you bring that competitive fire in? Well, it's like, I want to compete and do my best to show up this way, right? I'm going to compete and do my best to like, hey, like probably a big part of coaching is like bringing energy, right? Like it's, they're not going to have more fun than you're having in like often in a way, right? Like if you're having a lot of fun as a coach, if you're having a lot of fun leading a team, then they're going to have more fun. But if you're like, you show up like, oh, let's go again. Like, it won't go well. Like, Vex, I see that in some of your videos online stuff. Like you love what you do. Like it's infectious. Right. So I don't know if that helps, but like, that's a fundamental piece, but getting more clarity and continue to do it. And then it's like, well, then what narrative identity can you play with that? Cause it's definitely it has to be different. It can't be the same. Right? Like how you played hockey and be on the ice and compete and, do or die, like, just, killer mentality, et cetera, resilience, like these things, a lot of those traits, they can come, but they're going to probably adapt and they're going to be a bit different. And now you could still maybe go and play, a sport or go do things as a relief valve to go tap fully into that and other areas. And maybe there is a part of coaching where, you do a little fun game at the end and you're a part of it and you're screaming like, let's go. Like, and they're feeding off that. Right. So, but it's a creative process is the first and foremost versus like, oh, well, it's a cookie cutter, fluffy little exercise. No, this is creative and personalized to you. And then coming up with a name can be very fun. So like I'll give an example, like what helped me early on building my mental performance coaching business is I had to put on the hat of like a business owner. I was like, oh, what am I doing here? Like, right, business making strategic decisions. And so one of the things I connected to Mark Cuban, I would put a hat on, literally a hat, and pretend I was Mark Cuban. Not that I know that much about him, but I just thought he was kind of cool and he runs businesses and does all this stuff. And he was like sports. I was like, well, I like this guy. I would tap into that narrative and some of those traits and be strategic and not just run around chasing all the different ideas. And that's what helped build up our performance coaching firm, which is, pretty big now, is like 14 coaches, et cetera, does quite well. And
That's
big deal. It's growing, right? So, there's another one. Woo! Yeah. More goals in my first couple years in the O. So so point being was you can be playful with it. I've all kinds of cool different alter egos we've helped build and done. One of the ones even just recently, if you like Breaking Bad, the guy's like, oh, I like watching Breaking Bad. It's this offensive, and he's like Heisenberg. I'm like, he's just tapping into Heisenberg mentality. Like he's just getting after what he wants and attack mode and just, and he liked that. I was like, oh, that's crazy. Guy's crazy. I love it. Like,
But it works.
It works. Like
It works, and
the narrative works
you,
for you. So
you just got to do something that connects for you. Like, don't be embarrassed. Doesn't matter what. If you got to be Tony Montana when you go to the rink in your head, you're not out there selling coke, but or shooting people, but maybe like you're doing that type of Tony Montana on the ice. Like it doesn't, like the Mark Cuban thing. That's great example. Something that I've been doing a lot lately too, and it's different than this, but it's like a different thing. Is like when something hard comes at me in my businesses or whatever decisions, and it's like stumping me, I literally started being like, what would I do in hockey? And like, obviously no problem that I'm going to have as a business owner is going to be like, okay, I just got scored on and it's my fault. I turned the puck over as the last guy. What do I do the next shift? But like that kind of mindset, like I kind of tap into that now a lot, if something hard happens and I'm like rattled about it, like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm like, dude, what would I have done in hockey in such and such situation? When I said, yeah, I'll go. And I look up and it's Michael Haley. Oh my God, I am about to die. But I showed up, same thing, the business. I don't know. That's something that's kind of helped me.
I love that. Well, I just wrote a couple things down, like as you were talking, Cassidy, like who do I want to be? And like kind of what was I when I was at my best as a player and what I feel like I could be at my best at now as a business owner. High energy, positive, and competitive fire. High energy, positive, competitive fire, like leading with those things. And, I will read your book and dive deeper into this, but also like, I think that's like a good starting point to just be like, what are a couple words that you feel like are this identity, this thing that you aspire to be, or this thing that you are that just needs to be wrestled out of you so you can be the best version of yourself. And so like high energy, positive, competitive fire were the words that kind of came to me. And then like I started to kind of feel it. Like I wrote it down and then I'm like, competitive, like just, it's already kind of starting to bubble in a little bit.
I bet you like Mondays. You like Mondays?
What's that?
You like Mondays?
I do like Mondays. Yeah.
I love Mondays. Oh, it's new week. Let's go. Like I want to compete. Like I love Mondays. Like it's, I also love Fridays and the weekend too, but let's go. I love working. Like I love doing what I do. And it's like,
hey, Cassidy, you also got young kids and they're in school. You don't have to take care of them all day. Now you got somebody else. Now you can do your thing. That helps too on Mondays.
I want to compete. It's Monday. It's game day. Like it's game day. Like it's like, let's go. So, right. Like it's, I got to relax on the weekend and I like relaxing. Well, it's compete time. Like, let's go do my thing. And so, but having those traits clarified is like, that becomes your like, am I living in alignment with those traits and like self-reflecting and like, as like, and then you can tap into them. And how do I want to tap into them at what points? But, and further elaborate, but like just the process of writing it down. There was a great, I saw something online. Guy, it was, I don't know who it was now, but he used this analogy like, all right, guys, like, okay, we're gonna do a math problem. It's 1,565 plus 133 point and whatever. Like there's some high, and they're like, you guys want to write that down to do it? I'm like, yeah, I'd like to write it down. It's like, okay, well, your mind, your thoughts, like how you want, like you don't want to write that down. You just want to just deal with that and hope you can deal with that without writing it out. Like that's why writing things down, it's so complicated how we think the narratives, the stories, so we can write it down. Now it's like, oh, we can simplify it. If we're doing 2 + 2, like you don't need to write that down. It's easy, but like a more complicated math problem, that's, just addition, you would want to write it down. But then, your mindset, you don't want to deal with that and actually spend the time and energy to flush it out, self-reflect, write it down, use journaling, use this personal scorecard, that it helps us process what's going on in between our ears, what's going on in our mental game. So it's there's proof there, right there, Toph. So you wrote it down, got some clarity.
Boom. I've been healed by Dr. Cassidy Preston. There we go. Well, Cassie, this was awesome, man. We appreciate you coming on again and wish you nothing but the best of luck with this book. Before we let you go, talk a little bit about when the book comes out, where you can find it, and your website and where people can find you on social media and stuff like that, because I know there's going to be people that are going to want to see more from you.
Yeah. So I just launched my new website, drcassidypreston.com. So you can find that. Yeah, it's got some excited to have that. So all the book details will be on there. The book is just about to launch on Amazon. I think this airs on Monday, December 4th. So it could be available. Otherwise, it's going to be available a day or two later. You go to my website, you'll find it either way, and you can just wait and buy it once it's officially available, and you can join the list. And it's Mindset First. It's going to be sold on Amazon. Also Audible version, which, like I said, I made through. So versus hiring someone else to read it for me, I buckled up and read it myself. And and then obviously my mental performance coaching firm, CP Mindset. You'll find out more about the rest of my team there, and we do lots of one-on-one coaching and team workshops and stuff as well. So those are the main ways. And I'm on Instagram, or our team's on Instagram at CP Mindset, on Twitter, LinkedIn a bit. So my social media game, we work on it, but it's coming. I'm not a hockey think tank level of look at all this.
Well, that's Jeff Lemecchio level. Jeff Lemecchio's got a blue check mark on Instagram, 110,000 followers. Thank you very much.
You can't. Not everybody can write books, man. Some of us just got to put the meat out on the gram to move the needle.
I'm gonna take some notes. So.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks, Cassie. Appreciate it. And best of luck with the book launch.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me guys on. I appreciate the chat, and it was lots of fun.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.